Hello, my name is Marjorie Wildcraft, and welcome to our podcast series where we're interviewing business leaders who are growing their own food. Isn't that amazing? I mean, you'd be astonished at some of the executives with managing thousands of people or entrepreneurs that have built up these amazing biotech companies and all these amazing, industrious, unbelievably driven and intelligent, smart men and women who you would never suspect. I mean, you meet them or you're in a business meeting and you'd never suspect that they actually just brought a whole bunch of cartons of their backyard eggs and gave it out to friends. So I want to introduce you today to another one. His name is Jonathan Saccone. Italian, right? I was like, Saccone. Jonathan, welcome to the call.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
You're another one of us in this secret underground organization of people you would never suspect who are growing food, right?
I'm privileged to be there, too. It sounds like a pretty cool organization to be a part of. So yeah. I'm happy to be a part of that.
It's so secret we don't even know we're a part of it.
No, we don't even know about it.
I'm bringing that out with this podcast. But Jonathan, why don't you tell folks, your name and your position, what your company, how long you've been doing it, and roughly how many people you have working for you?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Jonathan Saccone. I'm in the real estate investment and development space. So in other words, I flip houses for a living. So just like what people would imagine on HGTV, that's kind of my life. So that's what I've been doing. We are in the business of helping homeowners that want to sell their houses fast. So we're giving them a different way of selling their home as opposed to going through the rigmarole of maybe the traditional way. So I've been doing that for the last, I would say, almost 10 years, since 2011. We've kept a pretty tight ship, to be honest with you. We don't have a lot of employees on the books. We have a few administrative support people, that do a lot of our back end and data stuff, the important stuff in the background. But we're actually divided into different territorial acquisition managers. So in other words, what that means is we actually partner with trusted individuals that we can count on with providing great customer service to homeowners. And that's kind of how we've developed the model, which has worked great because we don't have to have so much the overhead, so much of the, and back-end processes to manage. We're essentially just partnering with other people in the business and growing the brand that way.
That's a model that we've been finding a lot as we do, and that's actually the way the Grow Network is we have a core team, core staff that's pretty lean, about 10 of us, and then dozens and dozens of contractors and trusted relationships, and that, that's the new model. Let's switch away from business for a minute and just talk about how long you've been growing your own food.
Absolutely, the fun stuff.
The fun stuff.
So we've been growing our own food. Actually, I started because my wife's been really into gardening and planting since she was little. Her father started, with her by the time she was, almost out of the womb. It's in their family, it's in their blood. So I got hooked on it myself just because I understand the importance of, organic, of locally produced food, making sure that all the nutrients are there intact, just healthier for you. So I would say we've been a little bit more hardcore about it within the last 4 years. We have beds out back, so we like to attend to that. And, that's sort of the background story.
Well, that's super cool and leads into my next question. How long have you been doing this approximately? Is this like
So me personally, about 4 years with my wife, but I would say that my wife has been doing it a lot longer than me. So together as a married couple, it's been about 4 years of being consistent with it.
Good. And what systems do you use what are you, in-ground gardens, raised beds, chickens, rabbits, goats? I was just talking we were just doing another interview and the guy goes, worms. I'm like, oh yeah, right?
They're important.
Yeah.
So I would say,
what,
I mean, I don't have any fancy, crazy systems, but what I can say is, we have raised beds in the back, so that's the way we've done it. We also had to build, I guess, a cool system that we put in play was fencing. It was just so difficult to keep battling those groundhogs and squirrels. It was almost becoming like we're gonna hang up the cleats, eventually, just because we weren't the ones eating what we were growing. Everybody else was. So we ended up putting a cool removable fencing system in play. So it was divided into 6 individual fences that were about 4 feet high, that each one of those fences were able to be removed. So if you needed to get into certain areas, you can do that. And then we put some chicken wire at the top of it, which prevented animals from climbing up over the fence. And we've had such great success with that particular system. I think it was like $125 worth of material at Home Depot and a good day's labor, and it really solved all of our animal problems. So that was kind of a cool thing. But in terms of anything else, I guess a quick, tip that, my wife's family brought to the table was they actually would use like strips of pantyhose to tie stems to the cages instead of using anything more abrasive or harder. And apparently what that would do with it, specifically for tomatoes or, things that are, growing pretty rapidly, is it would stretch and it would be more delicate on the stems. So we've been using pantyhoses, believe it or not, to wrap the stems to the cages for anything that is growing, the growing that needs some sort of support. So, that's a cool, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really cool tip. And not doing corporate America anymore, I don't really go through pantyhose, but it's a great material.
They're hard to find now, but, they work if you can find them.
All right, so this next question, with an Italian descent, I can almost kind of guess what the answer is going to be. But what's your favorite thing to produce, or the thing that you're most proud of?
That's a great question. So my personal favorite that I like to produce is actually twofold. So the first is Russian kale, and the reason why I like it is because it is it seems like a sturdy crop. Like sometimes it'll last all the way into January, which is weird, but it holds its own in some of the, crazy winter months that we've been having. Last year was, had some bad days in the winter, some bad winter storms, and it's still, I was like harvesting even during that time, which was amazing. So, and I usually use kale for smoothies, and Russian kale just fits the bill for that. So I like it from that perspective. That's been our favorite because I think it's been the most successful that we've grown. But in terms of like taste and just sheer enjoyment, I would say our peppers. We grow, I love hot peppers, so habaneros, jalapenos. We have green bell peppers and all different sorts of hot peppers. That's my favorite because I just use peppers all the time in my breakfast omelet. So it's nice to have like freshly picked peppers, at your disposal.
Absolutely. Yeah, nice. I love that. I was so surprised. I was thinking you were going to say tomatoes and tomato sauce, but I get it.
Of course. Well, you know what? It would be my favorite, but we don't get enough sun in our backyard for them to be successful. So I can't put that on the list.
They do need more sun. Hey, Jonathan, how much time do you spend a day doing this? I mean, I know you're running a company, you're a super busy guy, but, just approximately.
I would say, it's generally heavier, when the weeds start popping up. So I'd like to spend about 15 to 20 minutes in the mornings if I can with just general maintenance. So picking weeds and, when it's time to harvest, that may take a little bit more time, of course. But I would say it's nice if I can get out 15, 20 minutes just to be out in the garden and get some fresh air to start the day.
Yeah, that's amazing how even just that little amount of time really can shift your perspective and actually produce a lot. People don't realize how little it takes to actually do it. But let me ask you something this, other than, the peppers and the kale. I'm a huge kale fanatic, by the way. What would you say is what other benefits do you get out of the garden other than the production of the food?
Yeah, so in terms of other benefits, I would say, just getting the day started in the right way. It's nice to be in the sunshine and, just have it be at the forefront and just getting that breath of fresh air. I think it's just so relaxing, and it's almost meditative in a way. So it puts you in a really nice, relaxing state before a crazy work day, and some of them can be absolutely just insane. So that's one thing. But also, too, it's like for me, when I'm out in nature, I'm in God's creation. So it really just teaches me, just even being outside and attending to a garden, just the value of, teaches me gratefulness. It also teaches me about God's providence, because it's really all about your success with harvesting isn't all dependent on your gardening efforts. It has to do with weather. It has to do with other outside control elements. And it really just makes me appreciate all of what I have because of God and how he provides. So,
wow, that is so beautifully said. Thank you. It's you're really in a co-creative position, and it's humbling and beautiful. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Why should other companies encourage more backyard food production by their leaders and their staff?
Well, I think for a lot of different reasons, but I think in terms of encouraging backyard food production, it's twofold. I think, if you can do it as a team, it's a great team building activity. It teaches you a lot. It actually teaches you a lot about business and the sales process. Like things like farming and watering and maintaining, the garden are all words that we use to identify the sales process with, farming for leads and watering, following up. And so it's really interesting how you can identify what you need to do with creating a successful harvest with how it relates to business. So I thought that's an interesting element that you can bring into the mix with your employees. But also just really the importance of, eating organically, growing pesticide-free stuff. The commercialized world in food has just become, to a point where you just don't even know what you're eating anymore. So it's nice to be able to produce your own locally, like in your backyard, locally grown food, and you know what you're getting, and the freshness, and you're getting that nutrient density that a lot of us are missing with regular, commercial produce in the grocery stores. So I think it's just important for the environment as well. It's huge.
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely. I mean, that's a whole thing that people really just don't know how impoverished even the organic stuff just doesn't have the nutrient density that you can produce in your backyard. It's a huge thing, and the health benefits. So thank you so much, Jonathan, for being on the call for us. And if somebody's up, I guess, New Jersey and they want to sell a house fast, how can they reach you?
Yeah, sure. So you could go to my website at www.halohomebuyers.com. You could find our email information and our phone number. So, feel free to call us if you need help with knowing what your options are, and hopefully we can be your service provider if it's a pretty key option for you.
Nice. And then they can also get gardening tips too. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, call me for gardening tips too. I'd probably rather talk about that actually.
Yeah, usually, yeah. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for being on the call today. Really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.
The Grow Network is a movement of people who are stopping the destruction of the earth via homegrown food.